hear from you this morning. That was really loud on our end. So hopefully it wasn't that loud on your end. But we'll have time for questions this morning. You can put your questions in the chat throughout the presentation or wait until the end for the Q&A part of this event. You can also unmute yourself during the Q&A to ask a question. However, during the meeting, please make sure that you are muted. We have also enabled audio captions. To use this feature, select the Show Captions button on your control bar on Zoom, and then you can see that the captions are actually available in multiple languages. And with that, I would like to introduce Mike Magruder, Director of Integrated Planning and Clean Energy, to share a few words. Then we'll begin our main presentation. Mike?
Okay. All right, thank you, Tamara, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Again, my name is Mike Magruder. I'm the Director of Integrated Planning and Clean Energy here at Avista. I get the opportunity to work with an amazing team that plans our energy delivery system and integrates different power sources into the system. For example, if we were to build more transmission lines or add more solar or wind generation, my team figures out how it will impact the grid and our customers. We're always thinking about how to balance the demand for energy within the regulations in Washington, all the while keeping costs to our customers in mind. This has always been a complicated job, and it's even more challenging now as we see new renewable energy policies in Washington. For example, you might have heard about the Clean Energy Transformation Act, CETA, as Tamara mentioned. This is a Washington law that requires that all Washington energy be free of greenhouse gas emissions by 2045. This law is making Avista and other utilities take a new look at how we balance the resources we already have with additional energy sources like solar, wind, hydroelectric, and more. The good news is delivering clean energy isn't new to us. As you may know, our company started with hydroelectricity more than 135 years ago. You can see that first generation facility in downtown Spokane today. But there's still a lot of work and planning that goes into transitioning to an electric grid dominated by renewables. And that includes understanding how our decisions impact our customers. We have specific ways of measuring that impact, and we'll talk more about that in today's meeting. As our team shares more about that, we encourage you to ask questions and share your feedback. Your experiences and suggestions help drive us forward. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Tamara. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for sharing those words with us this morning. I just want to quickly walk us through our agenda. It's short here. We're going to be hearing from Kelly in just a moment. If we could go to our agenda slide, please. And obviously we did our welcome and our community message from Mike. Thanks to Mike again. Today we're going to hear from Kelly Dangle, who is our Clean Energy Policy and Implementation Manager. And our presentation this morning is focused on two things, which is our public participation plan and then also our customer benefit indicators that we call our CBIs. And we have two goals for the presentation this morning. One is to inform you regarding our public participation at a high level, which we just filed on May 1st, about 30 days ago. And then second is for understanding around our community benefit indicators. And we do have a slide here to show us what our goals are for today's presentation. Thank you. So we want to hear from you. It's to consult with our customers. We're getting ready to, this fall, file our second Clean Energy Implementation Plan. And so this is really an opportunity to share your thoughts and your insights and for us to hear from you. So again, we'll have time for questions at the end. We do ask that you respect diverse opinions and thoughts that may occur during this presentation this morning. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. And with that, I will turn it to Kelly. Thanks.
Thank you, Tamara. And it's nice to see at least one face that I don't know online. Good morning, sir. my name is Kelly Dingle, and I am the Clean Energy Policy and Implementation Manager at Avista, helping ensure that our company complies with Washington law and does it in a way that is favorable and to both customers and the company. So CETA began in 2019 with emphasis on an equitable transition for all customers to clean energy. And under the law, utilities must eliminate the use of coal-fired generated electricity by the end of 2025, provide a carbon neutral supply of electricity to customers by 2030, and then by 2045, provide 100% renewable or non-emitting generation to customers by 2045. So to meet this requirement for 2020 or 2045, back to the 2025 requirement, Avista will divest in its generation interest in Colstrip, a coal-fired generation plant in Montana, and will no longer receive energy from that site by the end of the year. To meet the 2030 requirement, Avista has proposed annual clean energy targets that incrementally increase the amount of clean energy delivered to customers. In 2025, Avista anticipates delivering 62.5% of clean energy to customers and will propose increasing annual targets every year through 2029 to be more than 76 renewable by 2029. And then in the 2045 requirement, the law requires all energy delivered to customers 24/7, 365 days a year to be from a renewable or non-emitting resource. Every 4 years, Avista has to make a plan that's called the Clean Energy Implementation Plan, and we are currently under our existing plan and will file a new plan in October. This plan has to demonstrate an equitable transition in the areas of delivering clean energy, providing energy efficiency savings, and demand response savings for customers. Energy efficiency focuses on using less energy in your home or your business, while demand response programs focus on reducing energy use at specific times of the day or throughout a season. The law also requires utilities to share information publicly about this transition, seek and incorporate customer input, and take steps to reduce barriers which may prevent a customer from engaging with the utility or gaining access to clean energy benefits. That's the public participation plan, and Tamara mentioned it, that we filed our most recent one May 1st. This equitable transition, meaning a fair distribution of costs and benefits related to the clean energy transition, is measured by customer benefit indicators. And these indicators can cover a broad range of areas from affordability to reliability to public health, and we'll talk about those later on in the presentation. Let's talk about our plan, though, for public participation throughout this next 2-year period. Today's meeting is part of that plan, and some major components of the plan include providing educational videos which can share more information with customers about how to access clean energy benefits or how to get enrolled in programs such as energy efficiency or financial bill discount. We also want to emphasize meeting people in their communities by focusing on attendance at in-person events and meeting people where they're at and making steps to engage with them face-to-face. We also want to prioritize language translation efforts. If you've been to our website lately, you may have noticed it's available in Spanish. And we also are taking steps to provide written material and web material in languages other than English. We also want to improve our partnerships with community-based organizations and partner with them to reach additional customers about our financial bill assistance or energy efficiency programs that we ourselves may not have the ability or the access to influence customers in that way. So those are some highlights of the plan. And now we'll talk about our customer benefit indicators. Under CETA, utilities are required to propose and track metrics related to this fair and equitable distribution of the costs and the benefits. And these metrics track the benefits for all customers, but they also track a specific subset of our customer base. People that may be vulnerable or live in an area that's been highly impacted by climate change or climate impacts. These populations could include tribal nations, low income or rural areas, amongst others, and may experience inequalities related to adverse environmental effects, unemployment, or housing and food insecurity. Collectively, these segmented populations are called named communities. So as Avista delivers energy to customers, we have to strike this balance between affordable and reliable, something we've always done. And now under CETA, we ask to incorporate the requirement of delivering clean energy and doing it all in an equitable manner. So these are the requirements of the metrics. And now let's talk about specifically Avista's customer benefit indicators that we're proposing for our next 4-year period under CETA. These 6 areas represent some equity areas or benefit areas under CETA, and these are the same benefit areas that we have under our current CEIP, and the metrics we're going to share with you are also similar to the ones under our existing Clean Energy Implementation Plan. So we'll talk about the metrics in each area and then have some questions to ask you along the way to get some feedback. We'll start with affordability. We have 2 metrics to track programs that help reduce either energy use or help customers pay their bill. Participation in company programs measures how many customers receive a benefit from enrolling in a low-income weatherization energy efficiency program. And the energy burden, it speaks to how much of a household's gross income goes toward paying their energy bill. Households that pay 6% or more of their income are considered energy burdened. And so this metric tracks how many energy burdened customers receive financial assistance from Avista. So those are the 2 we have under affordability. And we'd like to ask you a question now, related to energy use. It says, how confident are you in understanding how much energy you use each month? How are we looking, Tamara?
We're looking good here. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results.
Okay, so we've got some very confident and confident, and some neutral, not confident.
Yeah, it looks like we have it spread across the board there pretty evenly.
Great. Okay, let's move on to accessibility. How available is Avista making our programs or our outreach or our efforts to reach customers? So under accessibility, we have 3 metrics. The first metrics align with our public participation plan, tracking outreach events or translation efforts. The second metric supports our electric vehicle transportation program. And we, under that plan, we provide 3 electric vehicles to community-based organizations that can in turn provide transport for members of their community, vulnerable members that may not be able to drive or need assistance. And so we track how many miles and how many community-based organizations are benefiting from those electric vehicles. And we also have investments in named communities. Remember, named communities are that subset under the law of people within our service territory who may experience inequalities related to this clean energy transition. And so Avista is making steps to invest in named communities and provide support for low-income community-based organizations that support paying your bill, or providing laundry services, or supporting food banks, or supporting improvements for doors or windows at a business that supports those communities. And so we're making specific efforts to improve named community infrastructure and emphasis on support for those customers. So we have three metrics in accessibility that we track, and I believe we have another poll question. If Avista were to attend a community event in your neighborhood, how likely would you be to stop by our table?
Okay, I'm gonna close the poll, Kelly, and share the results.
Pretty good. Likely and very likely. Maybe if we had more giveaways, they'd be more interested.
That's an idea, for sure.
Well, thank you. If we're in your neighborhood, if we're at a neighborhood event, we hope you'll make an effort to stop by. So let's go on to energy resilience. Resiliency, speaks to the utility's ability to bounce back from an event. How quickly can we recover if there's an outage or some disruption on the system? But we also realize that there's resiliency related to customers and how they're affected by outages. So under this, it's really tracking how often and how reliable is the energy that Avista provides and how available is it. So the first metric tracks the average duration of an outage, and then the second metric tracks the frequency of an outage. And Avista realizes the effects of outages on a customer's daily life can be very significant, and we make every effort to reinforce the energy system to avoid outages, and when outages occur, restore power quickly so that customer impact is minimized. And we'd like to know, if you have any backup plans in the case of a long duration outage. So we have another poll question. It says, do you have a plan in place for an unexpected outage lasting 2 hours or more? Yes. Ooh, no. We have more people saying no than yes. Well, you know what? My backup plan is go to my parents' house. If I have an outage lasting more than 2 hours, or my food's going to go bad in the fridge. So that's something to consider, as we think about energy usage and what you can do as a customer and what Avista can do as a utility.
Yeah, Kelly, maybe to just add to that, for those that said no, I'd be curious if you are lived in urban or if you were more of a rural customer, just out of curiosity. If you're willing to drop that in the chat, if you're someone that answered no, I think that helps us prepare and plan for future communication.
Good idea. Okay, we got 3 more to go and we're doing great on time. So let's cover energy security. Under energy security, this indicator tracks from a utility's perspective and also a customer's perspective. From the customer's perspective, we're tracking the number of disconnects for non-payment. Avista provides financial bill assistance programs that help customers avoid disconnection. And one of the previous metrics we talked about under affordability was tracking how many people participate in a company program. So this metric saying, well, if I participated, how many are still on their way to being disconnected or have been disconnected, even though they may have received assistance. So we want to reduce the number of disconnects as much as we can. From the utilities perspective, though, we also have another metric speaking to energy security, and that is how much generation capability is owned by Avista or can be connected to Avista's transmission system for delivery to customers. And as CETA's 2030 and 2045 requirements approach, where we're bringing on more clean energy, it'll be even more important to own those resources or have the ability to connect them into Avista's transmission system. So, things that Mike spoke about at the beginning of the presentation about planning for more energy and having a system that can bring it on is really important. If you're really interested about clean energy programs or would like to learn more about what Avista is doing, we do have a quarterly email, and we'd love to send that to you. I think we're going to have something in the chat if you're interested in signing up. And so our poll question for this one is, how interested are you in receiving information about Avista's clean energy efforts in Washington State? Very interested. Yay, that's at the top. Interested. Those are great. Those are great responses. Hopefully you take action by signing up for our newsletter, and our next edition should be coming out early summer. Let's go on to environmental effects. One of the major desires of CETA is to have a cleaner, healthier environment free of greenhouse gas emissions. Under this benefit area, we track emissions from Avista-owned generation facilities. And with the removal of coal strip generation by the end of this year, Avista will see a decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. And progressively, as we move through the incremental compliance years of increasing renewable energy on the system, we will also reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So that speaks to outdoor air quality and then the specific emissions that Avista produces in providing energy to our customers. Our question here for you is, how frequently do you check air quality before engaging in outdoor air or outdoor activities? Okay, looks like sometimes, yeah, I bet that sometimes is probably seasonal. It might be, maybe during the summer or maybe in the winter when we have a lot of wood stove use with temperature inversions. So good to know. It's something that I do definitely in the summer when I want to go running. Thanks, Tamara. Okay, our last one for this CBI conversation is related to public health. Again, these benefit areas are prescribed under the law, and through conversations with our customers and advisory groups, we come up with metrics that we can apply to each of these benefit areas. So under public health, we have 3 metrics related to improving the overall health of the public. 2 are related to the company's efforts to better understand and respond to needs within Avista's service territory and are achieved through a more inclusive supplier and employee diverse workforce. And the last one, indoor air quality metrics, they track the number of indoor air quality weatherization efforts that Avista does with our energy efficiency teams. So overall, Avista has these 6 benefit areas with 13 proposed customer benefit indicators, and underneath that, more than 50 individual metrics across all customer segments that we're tracking. And we intend to propose these metrics in our upcoming 2025 Clean Energy Implementation Plan, which will be filed October 1st with the Washington Utilities Transportation Commission. And so our last question here for you is, do you think that these indicators are measuring the primary areas of the clean energy transition? And if you have ideas for other things we could track, you're welcome to put those in the chat, because we'd love to hear from you on that.
I'm still seeing a couple responses coming in, so just giving it a couple more seconds, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
This one's tough.
Yeah, sometimes when you're hearing something for the first time, you may not know if that's spot on or, yeah, it looks right. But maybe you need more information to know, how strongly you might feel about something. So I'll take that. So that's the end of our planned presentation for customer benefit indicators. And I think Tamara has some more information to share.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. If you just want to transition us to our Q&A slide. It might help if I turn on my video too. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, so now it's your turn to ask questions, make comments. You can enter those questions in the chat. You can also unmute yourself and ask the question if you're comfortable doing that. If you have a question but don't want to ask it here or put it in the chat, feel free to email us at CETA@avistacorp.com. That is our clean energy email inbox, and we're happy to respond to you that way as well. So I'll just pause here and see if any questions come through. Thank you for those that have been making comments in the chat box around being prepared for an outage. Appreciate those comments. Looking to see if I see hands, any hands. Oh, I'm probably going to say your name wrong, so I am so sorry, but Anya, go ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So, since I'm in the workforce right now, having SMART goals, is kind of important for my KPIs as an employee because they're going to dictate how, I'm going to be scored on my job, and they're measurable. And like measurable, I feel like is kind of the key word behind my question. Pretty much what I've seen, are more like descriptions of your objectives. So I guess my question is, I understand the direction that Avista is taking here. At this current stage, is it like kind of we know what direction we're heading, but we don't have the numbers yet? Or do you have like specific measurable text behind each of the goals that you've laid out?
Yes. Hi, Anya. Hi. You have a very nice setup with that mic.
Thank you.
Yes, Avista has specific numbers behind all of these metrics. We started with a 2021 baseline for all of these metrics and then have been tracking them annually. We didn't feel like putting numbers necessarily in front of you was a meaningful thing.
Okay.
But in our next clean energy implementation plan, the one where we file in October, we have two components of these customer benefit indicators that would be new. One of them is directionality, saying we intend to increase this or decrease that. So we want to decrease greenhouse gas, or we want to increase participation in company programs. We want to decrease disconnects. So those numbers, of course, fluctuate throughout the year, but over the 4-year period, we want to see a decline or or an increase. And then second, we also have selected 6 metrics for aspirational goals that we want to attain by 2029. That's also part of our plan, but again, not something we intended to share today, a little bit more detailed. In terms of, the SMART and measurable and actionable and time bound, all of those things roll into our 4-year period. So today, Avista is primarily held responsible to the areas of providing clean energy, providing energy efficiency, and providing demand response. Those are the most specific, measurable, and accountable ones. These other benefit indicators today, we are not either penalized or rewarded for in terms of meeting them, but they are a requirement under the law.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Kelly. I might add to that, behind those CBIs, just for a little bit more awareness, is actually over 90 measurable metrics on our customer benefit indicators. So we just thought that might be too much to display at 7:30 in the morning, probably too much for us to talk about at 7:30 in the morning, but great question. I did see a question in the chat from Randy. Thank you, Randy. Kelly, it says, what type of financial incentives are available for nonprofit, as specifically a church here, to convert to solar power?
Ooh. Okay, so you may have heard me talk about the named community population and specific efforts Avista is taking to invest in those communities. One of the specific actions we have is called a named community investment fund, where we're intending to invest up to $5 million annually to support named community populations and nonprofits and community-based organizations that serve those populations. And so through an application process, groups like the church you're describing, or a food bank, or a community-based organization can apply for funding to help supplement costs to make that type of activity, to improve the windows, or to convert to solar, or convert an old gas boiler to maybe something more fuel efficient because, it's 20 years old, 30 years old. So we primarily use that fund to supplement community-based organizations and efforts. And then there's also a specific thing. I don't want to explain all of the details because I don't have them, but there's some specific funding that's out there at the state level that helps low-income organizations convert to solar and put rooftop solar. It's under House Bill 1416. So if you provide your email address, whoever asked that question, or email us at CETA at avistacorp.com, I can provide the specific details of that state program. It's not something Avista directly administers, but is a part of.
Thanks, Kelly. I would also just add that, Randy, feel free to email. We have got some solar SMEs here at Avista, so you can also reach out your question at solar@avistacorp.com. Great question. We hear a lot about solar.
I do see Michael and Robert on the call. They have their hands up.
Oh, great. Thank you. I don't know who was first, so let's start with Michael.
Well, good morning. I live in Palouse, rural Whitman County, and I just want to say Avista does such an outstanding job in local communities, and all the things you support. You guys are first rate, and so thank you for holding this. I wanted to talk real quickly, or have a question about the equitable transition we talked about, and the community benefits. This is about wind farms. It's when in the equitable transition, if companies come in that don't have to obey local codes, is that equitable for Avista to support? And that does Avista going to how's Avista going to make it so that the means justify the end on this? There's the community benefits include things like economic development for them, and tourism, and all this stuff, and views. And how do you factor in, and zoning codes, how do you factor those in? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a hard one, Michael, and I am very aware of the sentiment that many people on the Palouse have about additional wind farms, and I can't speak to whether the developer is obeying code or not. Avista doesn't own any wind farms, but we own or receive all of the production of electricity from some wind farms in our area, like the one that's called Palouse Wind. And so as Avista, complies with these laws, additional wind and solar will be required on our system. And we realize that, it will be a benefit for all customers, but it's not exactly beneficial for the people that don't want it in their backyard. So it's a hard balance to strike. And so Avista will just have to take those things, one at a time, and severely, determine when it's appropriate for them to own a wind resource or just receive the energy from another producer that has created and built the site, and then we share the energy with the customers.
I guess that's my point, that wind farms that are built not using local zoning codes, if Avista didn't buy it, they wouldn't happen. Everyone knows that Avista buying it is what is the circle of life on this stuff. So, all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
I think one thing, Michael, great question. Appreciate it. And like Kelly said, we are aware of the sentiment down in the Palouse. If you are comfortable emailing us at CETA@avistacorp.com, either your phone number or your email address, we'd love to put you in touch with our integrated resource manager, who could probably help add some additional context to your question.
You bet. I'll put it in the chat.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Michael. Robert.
Thank you for recognizing me here. In many of these questionnaires, I see this as an extremely general overview, and so it's hard for me to form an opinion on measurable goals when I don't have the specifics in front of me. But I do have, I did want to raise the issue of solar generation by residences. And so I have had pitches made to me about putting panels on my house, but a pretty important part of the equation is Avista's attitude towards buying that power or offering credits. Avista, I haven't seen, and maybe you can clarify for me, does Avista have a goal of expanding credits to promote the installation of panels, which is a sizable expense?
Mm-hmm. It is a sizable expense. We have a program that supports rooftop solar for customers. It is not a subsidized program, meaning Avista is not paying for those panels. But any panel that is installed, Avista is obligated and does have to take the energy, the excess energy from those panels. And so we offer a net metering program where only after you've used the energy you need, what's left over is sold back to the grid, and you eventually are only paying for what Avista had to provide you. And I don't know the details of that rate, but they would be competitive under the requirements that we have to abide by. If you're interested in knowing specifically what that rate is, I wish I knew it, but we're not going to be able to get it in time in this chat. But we could, if you provide your information, we'll be happy to provide it back to you. If the customer, however, doesn't enroll in our net metering program, then there's a different story. There's no, utility benefit at that point. It's all going to the customer.
Okay, but it's it's not always one-to-one. Does that sound about right?
That's right. Yep. So in times when the sun isn't shining, but you're using your electricity, that panel is not going to do much for you. So you'll have to consume Avista energy. But in the summertime, like today, you may not be using a lot of energy, but your solar is generating. And so every kilowatt that you're sending back to the grid, Avista is buying and is obligated to buy.
Okay. All right. And when you say give you my information, what do you mean? You post it in
You
the
can
chat
email
here,
us.
my email?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Robert. Great question. Jeff.
First of all, thank you guys for offering this opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about your plan. I do have a question for you about data centers, and there's a lot of interest about data centers in smaller communities as well as larger communities that Avista serves. It's definitely an economic driver, definitely that. The question, I think, is around Avista's process for evaluating the demand of that data center and how you guys will make sure that the benefit of having a data center applies to all Avista customers, so that we're not going to pay for a data center, that the data center is actually going to pay for itself and also provide a benefit for the remaining customers as well.
Yeah, data centers are definitely a concern, and Avista evaluates and has a process for those data centers wanting to come online and interconnect with our system. How much energy would they need, and when would they come online? The tricky part is under CETA, under the Clean Energy Transformation Act, they have to be served with clean energy. And right now, a lot of our clean energy, well, all of it is going to our existing customer base. So planning for an additional 300 megawatts or 400 megawatts of electricity that would be required for this data center to operate is quite a significant thing to plan for. So when Mike Magruder, our director, was talking, things that he was talking about how to make the plan, data centers are part of the plan. And so Avista does anticipate the likelihood of a new data center coming online by 2029. And so then, we have people in the queue and we have people that would like to work with us. So sometime by 2029, it will likely come to life. The question is, where do we get that energy to serve them? And so right now we have an all source request for proposal for new generation that's out or will be out soon. And a bunch of bidders will respond to that and help competitively decide through evaluating all of the responses what is most cost effective and what is going to meet the need. In terms of how that benefits all customers, they will be paying for their share. It's not like we will be paying for their share. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I've heard, that Avista wants to make sure that, if we are going to go the route of supporting data centers, that the full cost of the data center is being covered by the developer, and that there may be some actual benefit that then applies to all customers. So it might help reduce the cost of power for all customers. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, Jeff, I'd like to add to Kelly's response. So besides data centers, large load customers are constantly something that we are talking about at Avista. In fact, we just got done with an 8-month exercise looking at large load customers. As you can imagine, when large load customers come onto our system, it helps to offset the rates for all customers. Specifically to data centers, which we know are popping up everywhere and will continue to. I think one thing that we keep in mind and that we think about is, are data centers the right large load customer for Avista? Do they provide local economy jobs? Not a lot of jobs come out of data centers, right? But they need a lot of power to run. So would a different large load customer actually provide more local economy jobs, and how does that benefit our community? So there's a lot to consider that we're weighing. And again, one of the reasons that we just did an 8-month effort looking at that. So I just wanted to add that sentiment that it's more than just data centers. It's also other large load customers and how that might benefit our communities. And even with the other large load customers, it's kind of the same thing with the data centers where they will be paying for, they will have a special contract, right? So that is tied up with their energy where the other customers are not paying for that large load customer to interconnect with our system. However, all customers will benefit because it would offset rates across that area when they do come on. Does that help?
Thanks for clarifying that large load piece, because probably data centers wasn't the exact right question in terms of the demand piece, because it is large load customers as well. So thanks for that clarification.
Great question. Thank you. Other questions? Let me double check. I might not be seeing your hand. Double check the chat here.
Did we address Tina Marie's? Yeah, it looks like Tina Marie has a question also around data centers. Just want to make sure we fully cover that.
For that.
It's at the very top.
If you see it, Ariana, could you go ahead and read that out, please?
Yeah. So from Tina Marie, Avista Utilities has approved rate increases to support the goals of CETA and the Climate Commitment Act, which could include supporting data centers with energy needs. Additionally, the data centers industry demand for electricity is growing and could impact Avista's efforts to transition to a carbon-free power grid. What is Avista's plan moving forward to deliver cost effectively and consistently to energy delivery effectively and efficiently to customers considering these data centers? I know you guys were on that topic. I just want to acknowledge her comment and see if there's anything else you want to add for her.
That really is the $1 million question. Yeah.
Hey, Kelly and Tamara, this is Mike Magruder again. I just want to add one thing to that conversation. That's how we set up our rate structure and contract with those specific large customers. And the idea from our rates department is that we will hold harmless or provide a benefit for all customers based on that special contract with that extremely large customer. So that's part of how we will what we have to work on to be able to make sure we're not impacting our customers negatively.
Thanks, Mike. Tina, do you feel that we've covered your question? Appreciate your thoughts. Great. Thanks, Tina.
It is good to note that Tina mentioned the CCA, the Climate Commitment Act. Mm-hmm. So in Washington, we have two separate laws, both impacting the utility and our energy use. The first one is CETA, Clean Energy Transformation Act for electricity, and the Climate Commitment Act is on natural gas and the reducing of emissions in the natural gas system. So Avista offers both fuels, both electricity options, and so we are impacted by both of those laws and our customers.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Again, thank you so much for your feedback. I know this is a lot of information to process, talking about customer benefit indicators at 7:30 in the morning and our public participation plan. Thank you to Ariana, our communications manager, who has been dropping in those links for you guys to learn more, whether that's around our Named Communities Investment Fund, public participation plan, CCA, CETA, all the things. Mm-hmm. All the things.
And I do appreciate those that have shared their video with us this morning, asking questions and engaging. It makes this conversation a lot more personable versus just staring at a screen. So I thank you. And I thank you for your comments and questions.
Well, I'm not seeing any more. So I just want to move to maybe a couple final announcements, Kelly. Sure. Again, thank you for your great questions. A few announcements as we close our presentation here. Avista is always interested in hearing about your thoughts and comments on today's presentation. So I just want to throw out that email address one more time, which is CETA@avistacorp.com. We also have a equity advisory group, which is made up of our customers who live, play, work in our named communities. If you're interested in learning more about our equity advisory group and maybe joining it, we meet monthly. You can visit myavista.com/EAG. EAG is Equity Advisory Group. We use a lot of acronyms around this place. And then finally, and Kelly mentioned this earlier, we want you to stay informed about our clean energy initiatives and our customer programs. And you can do that through our quarterly newsletter. We're going to produce our second one of 2025 here in June. And you can sign up for that newsletter at myavista.com/CETA. This presentation will also be posted to our website, which is myavista.com/CETA. I know I'm throwing out multiple web addresses. But if you guys would like to go back, review this presentation, look at it in more detail, it will be posted to our website. We actually have it up there right now. And then I just want to thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for your questions, your time, your effort. We definitely appreciate it. We will be giving this presentation again at noon today. So if you didn't get enough, come back and join us. We'd be happy to see you again. But from all of us at Avista, we are grateful for your time and feedback. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here. And we will follow up both with Robert and Michael on their specific questions. So
Yes.
have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.